Perhaps last night at your Seder table, you sang Take Me Out to the Seder, to the tune of Take Me Out to the Ball Game in honor of the Guardians' home opener later today, down at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, the site of B'nai Yeshurun's first building, the Eagle Street Synagogue, the friendly confines. And with the beginning of the new baseball season, we always say that hope springs eternal, that new possibilities await for us, for our Guardians, perhaps my beloved New York Mets, and maybe they will meet in the World Series right here. And even though baseball outlawed the shift, we have begun a shift in our prayers, for Passover marks the end of the rainy season in Eretz Yisrael, where we always direct our hearts. We stop our prayers for rain, shifting the next 6 months for prayers for tal, for dew, another much-needed source of water for nature and our world. Last night, perhaps like us, you sang a rousing rendition of Dayenu. It would have been enough, recounting measure for measure and step by step the miraculous journey of our ancestors, with each step pausing to share gratitude, thanking God for each and every miracle, for assisting and guiding, sustaining, saving and redeeming, lifting our ancestors out of bondage and slavery to freedom. Dayenu is perhaps the most classic Seder song, the one that we carry with us from year to year and generation to generation. Erica Brown writes this about Dayenu. It's rare to hear people say when commenting on a blessing in their lives, it's enough. When it comes to goodness, we are greedy. We want an abundance of happiness and sometimes think it is our due. But immediately after we tell of the Exodus from Egypt in the Haggadah, we break into a 15-stanza song where we sing jubilantly and in unison, Dayenu, it is enough. The writer Melody Beatty beautifully captures what Dayenu is really saying and what all deep gratitude looks like. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and even more. We don't realize how lucky we are until we speak our blessings in great detail. Dayenu is not merely a reflection on Passover, but a template for how we can give true thanks. Is that really true? Would it have been enough if God just freed us from Egypt, but left us hungry and unprotected in the desert? Would it have been enough for us to be led to Mount Sinai, but not at all to have received the Torah? Would we be the same people if we didn't have Shabbat, if we didn't have Israel, if we didn't build a temple? Aren't those essential elements for our Jewish story, for our Jewish survival, the essence of who we truly are? Erica Brown continues with these words. Dayenu begins with an experience of what we had just been through, the Exodus, and uses it to wax lyrical on a host of other experiences, asking us to see the interconnectedness of our blessings, inviting us to break each gift into multiple components, and then put them back together and stare in disbelief at our good fortune. Then we can truly say Dayenu, it is enough, to be satisfied with our lot, hasameach bechelko, to live with an attitude of gratitude, to share our platitudes to those who have helped us, provided for us, saved us, and sustained us. So, I'd like to return for a moment to tal, to do, the prayer which Cantor Rosenbaum led us in yesterday, and she's been adding to the words of the Amidah, Marit Hatal. Is water an essential element to the Passover story? When does water appear in Pesach? Turning the Nile River into blood, the first plague, yeah? Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea and the crossing of the sea miraculously. Any other water in our story? Salt water on the Seder table, reflecting our tears and the tears of our ancestors. What? Moses, right? Baby Moses put into the basket by his mother and picked up by Bat Paro, the daughter of Pharaoh. Any other water? Water and Chadgad, yeah, we do it by, no, everyone does a noise, so yeah, they did some fun water noises last night at our Seder. Miriam, the well of water that miraculously followed the Jews for the 40 years they wandered in the desert to the merit of Miriam. And maybe like us, you had a Miriam's cup on your table. There we have the ritual of everyone filling it up from their own water cups. Others have it pass around and adding it to their water cups, the sustenance that Miriam and God provided for the Jewish people. Any other water? Of course, the genocidal decree of Pharaoh, right, to throw the baby boys into the Nile River, yeah? When Moses hit the rock, while they were wandering in the desert, and perhaps his punishment why he was not allowed to enter the land. Any other water? Washing our hands at the Seder twice, once with the bracha and once not. Mike? Moshe meeting Sipporah at the well, right? Reflecting other stories of how Rebekah was chosen and how Yaakov falls in love with Rachel, also at the well. Any other water? There's also the plague of hail, which is a form of water. Right? I'm sure there's even more, but you can see how water truly frames Passover. And I'll call you out, Terry. Do you still have that ritual where you literally walk through? Is it on the 7th night of Pesach? Shvi Shel Pesach. Terry has a special ritual that she does with those that are at her home, where they reenact the crossing of the sea on the 7th night of Pesach. So water is truly a frame to our Passover story. So when we commemorate, when we acknowledge the role of water in our lives, in our prayers, through the prayer for Geshem and the prayer for Tal, we are acknowledging and recognizing water in our lives. In the Wellsprings of Freedom Haggadah, Rabbi Ron Egan writes on the section of the first hand washing called orchatz. That orchatz comes from the Aramaic word rechitza, which doesn't just mean washing, but actually it means trust. The Aramaic orchatz means trust, that we have a trust that there will be water. We take water for granted, or at least I do. Water which is our sustenance, water which is our pathway to healing and cleansing, to health. Water is also a place of courage in our lives. We are required, according to the Talmud, to teach our children to swim in water, to give them the survival skills so that they will sustain themselves and carry on themselves and make their way in life. When we are reminded in Dayenu to share gratitude and appreciation for all we have, we are reminded of also what we take for granted. When we flush our toilets, when we turn on our sinks, when we buy those bottled waters, when we go down to Lake Erie and the rivers and the lakes in our neighborhoods, right by our homes, we forget that there are 2 billion people in this world who do not have access to safe, clean water for bathing or for drinking. When we sing Dayenu and fill Miriam's cup, when we share about all the good in our lives, when we drink water that sustains us, we shouldn't simply bless it and acknowledge it. We shouldn't say, Dayenu, it's enough. But we also must be inspired, not just on Pesach, but every day, to take action so that others can also say, Dayenu, we have enough water. How will we make sure that there is Mayim Chayim, living waters for others? Will we just do it with Tal and take on a challenge to conserve our own water use, to buy less bottled waters, to join beach cleanups and stream cleanups and lake cleanups? What will be our efforts to increase clean water access to all across this globe? When we say Dayenu, have we truly done enough? And I'll just note that our own synagogue and our social justice committee is starting a new ramp up for environmentalism and nature. And Rabbi Jacobs is going to be helping to spearhead that along with our lay leaders. And we're going to be participating this fall in a reverse tashlich, Tikkun Hayam, where we're not going to just throw breadcrumbs into the waters, but we're going to clean up our own natural water sources in our neighborhoods. So this Pesach and every single day, when we say Dayenu, it's enough. Will we be compelled to do enough to bring health, clean, safe waters to all? Chag Sameach.